Good morning, St. Francis, and good morning, people of God. It is Wednesday, the 7th day of February 2024. It is Wednesday of the Wednesday of the 5th week of the year, the 5th week in Ordinary Time. It is 1 week until Ash Wednesday. So if you're going to do your partying or whatever it is, get it out of your system now before Ash Wednesday begins and the process to Lent begins next Wednesday. Today, on this ordinary day of February, we continue again with words of Solomon's greatness. And the words of Solomon's greatness and his wisdom, as well as his wealth and his power, have made their way to the southern parts of to that which is south of Israel, not to the southern parts of Africa, but into Africa itself, south of Egypt, where was Sheba? Where was this place? Maybe it was Nubia, maybe it was someplace around there, but a great queen whose name is never mentioned, except she is the Queen of Sheba. Her name is not Sheba, but she was the Queen of Sheba, comes to visit Solomon. And so this is, first off, a very interesting narrative, very interesting trajectory of this narrative, where basically this female leader, this woman who is queen, decides to pack up her retinue and pack up her nobles and her servants and whatever it is, and go and visit this man Solomon, which is again extraordinary that a woman would do that in the time in which Solomon is living, and yet the Queen of Sheba doesn't question it in one bit. She basically sees that there's something that needs to be looked at and looked into with the great wisdom and the wealth of this man Solomon, and so she does. And she is amazed by what she sees. She's amazed by what she encounters of the temple and of its jewels and of its construction, as well as in speaking with Solomon and his wisdom. And then she praises Solomon as basically saying that, or she praises God, that God has given to Solomon such wisdom and such knowledge and such ability to be able to construct such great edifices, such great buildings, but also the kind of wisdom that needs to accompany such construction, and being able to be a person who puts to use, what it is that God has given him in the way that he can make judgments, in the way that he can allow people to experience the best of themselves, and look for the best of his country and the best of his people. And so, she then lavishes upon Solomon so many jewels and much more treasure and whatever it is. And it says no one else has ever given anybody as much treasure as the Queen of Sheba did. And so she was a wealthy woman who found in Solomon a person of wisdom and grace. Did they have a romantic relationship? It's never clear. Were there children that were given by Solomon? Are they given by the Queen of Sheba to Solomon? Do they have children together? It was never ever clear, though sometimes there's some evidence that says it was. We cannot say that. But he impressed this great and powerful woman who herself needed to see for herself just who and what this man, this king of Israel was, and who he and what he did, and what he did for his people. In the gospel today, we are still dealing with Jesus, again, trying to tell the Pharisees that what they are doing is not necessarily right. Is again, their whole focus upon traditions, the whole focus upon making sure to follow these rules and regulations that in many ways they have created themselves, that God has not created all of these rules and regulations. It is mostly the Pharisees and the scribes who have done so. And, and this moves to, again, what is it that they do on the outside, and how do they eat, and how do they clean things, and all these other kinds of things like that. And basically, again, Jesus says that the preoccupation with all of these small, little, inconsequential things is not what's important. And basically, he says that those things that you eat, that you're not supposed to eat, do not make you unclean. It is what is inside of you that makes you unclean. Your thoughts of jealousy and anger and hatred and bitterness and whatever, all those kinds of things that come from within are not the product of food or product of gestures or whatever it is that you're doing. And so again, the amazing thing about this is that in Mark's gospel, this is where Mark says of Jesus that he makes all foods clean. So there is no restrictions anymore. And perhaps Mark is doing that because his Jewish Christian community is trying to decide what to do with all of these laws, and especially the laws on eating and dietary practices. And basically Jesus says, let it be. God has created all of these things. There's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing wrong that should stop us from being able to enjoy them and being able to be nourished by them. Again, it is our human rules. It's our human regulations. It's our human desire to outdo God again and again that get in the way of us being able to listen and understand who and what God is and what God is trying to do for us and what God is trying to give us. God wants to give us more freedoms than we can imagine, more joy than we can imagine, more life than we can imagine. We have to stop letting our rules and our regulations and all those things that we think make us good Christians, good Catholics, or whatever it is, we have to stop them getting in the way of being us able to experience the wonder and beauty of a God who loves and cares for us. A blessed day, St. Francis and people of God. It is Community Mass, and so there are our students getting ready to go into the church. May the Lord give you his peace.